Hey, how you doing today? I hope that you are having a great day. My name is Riley. Thank you for stopping by Universal Chronicles. We about to have a little story time right now. I've been reading this book and I wanted to share it with you all. So I'm going to do like a little series, and I'll do it in parts. But this book right here is called The Four Agreements. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's a wisdom book, right? And of course, you can't believe everything you read, see, or hear. But you do realize when something resonates with your spirit. Or it adds another piece of the puzzle that you've been working on, right? It's always good to seek and search the truth for yourself. Don't just take anyone's word at face value. You should always be questioning. But this book has some very relevant information in it. And so I wanted to share it with you guys because I know in this day and age, everybody has an opinion about what is right and what is wrong and what is true and what is not. But ultimately, you have to discern for yourself, right? So this little first part right here, domestication and the dream of the planet. I thought that was a little interesting topic, seeing as how a lot of us, all of us, in the beginning, when we entered into this realm, even when we were in our mother's wombs, were already being programmed to feel a certain way, to think a certain way, etc., etc., right? So I just wanted to share a little bit of this with you. And hopefully, prayerfully, it'll open your mind up to some things and you begin to question and seek answers and find an understanding for yourself. So, it reads, humans are dreaming all the time. Before we were born, the humans before us created a big outside dream that we will call society's dream or the dream of the planet. The dream of the planet is the collective dream of billions of smaller personal dreams, which together create a dream of a family, a dream of a community, a dream of a city, a dream of a country, and finally, a dream of the whole humanity. And when I read that, it made me think about classes, or even the circle of life, because you have a broad circle of life, and within that broad circle of life, you have a circle within that circle of life, and so on and so forth. As you go inward, there's another circle of life, and of course, as you go inward, that circle gets smaller. Let's take our lifespan, right? Our lifespan is different from a fly's or a butterfly lifespan. Or our age span is different from a dog's age span. Now, we're all in this big circle of life, but their circle of life is within our circle of life and is different. They age different. Like a fly, even though it exists in this circle, it has its own circle within the circle, if that makes sense. I hope y'all get what I'm saying. But their lifespan is only what? A few weeks, right? I never really, I learned that through nature. But anyhow, the dream of the planet includes all of society's rules, its beliefs, its laws, its religions, its different cultures and ways to be, its governments, schools, social events, and holidays. We are born with the capacity to learn how to dream, and the humans who lived before us teach us how to dream the way of society's dreams. That's their programming right there. The outside dream has so many rules that when a new human is born, we hook the child's attention and introduce these rules into his or her mind. The outside dream uses mom and dad, the schools, and religion to teach us how to dream. That's programming. So, who's to say what we were taught growing up was completely true? I'm not going to say all of it was completely not true, but grandma told mama this, great grandma told grandma this, and it just goes on. We were taught certain things. We were programmed. We wasn't given an option to believe anything else. So it speaks about attention. Attention is the ability we have to discriminate and to focus only on that which we want to perceive. We can perceive millions of things simultaneously, but using our attention, we can hold whatever we want to perceive in the foreground of our mind. The adults around us hooked our attention and put information into our minds through repetition. You know, that's how a lot of us learn. That's how most of us learn, is through repetition. You know, when you in school, you start out at pre-K and you go through elementary school. They're really pretty much teaching you the same thing. They just give you little bit by little bit, but it's still repetitive teaching. They give it to you like in sections or levels, if you will. Uh, that is the way we learned everything we know. By using our attention, we learned a whole reality, a whole dream. We learned how to behave in society, what to believe and what not to believe, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, what is good and what is bad, what is beautiful and what is ugly, what is right and what is wrong. It was there already. All that knowledge, all those rules and concepts about how to behave in the world. When you were in school, you sat in a little chair and you put your attention on the teacher who was teaching you. When you went to church, you put your attention on the priest or the minister and what they were telling you. It is the same dynamic with mom, dad, brothers, and sisters. They were all trying to hook your attention. We also learn to hook the attention of other humans, and we develop a need for attention, which can become very competitive. Children compete for the attention of their parents, their teachers, their friends. Look at me, look what I'm doing. Hey, I'm here. The need for attention becomes very strong and continues into adulthood. And I know that the need for attention can also lead to codependency. This next part right here says, the outside dream hooks our attention and teaches us what to believe. Beginning with the language we speak. Language is the code for understanding and communication between humans. Every letter, every word in language is an agreement. And this is going to tie in into the 4 agreements. And the first one is going to be very important, which has to do with your words. So we'll get to that later. Once we understand the code, our attention is hooked and the energy is transferred from one person to another. It was not your choice to speak English. You didn't choose your religion or your moral values. They were already there before you were born. We never had the opportunity to choose what to believe or what not to believe. We didn't even choose our own name. As children, we didn't have the opportunity to choose our beliefs, but we agreed with the information that was passed to us from the dream of the planet via other humans. The only way to store information is by agreement. The outside dream may hook our attention, but if we don't agree, we don't store that information. So sometimes when you hear certain stuff, if you don't agree with it, you won't remember it later. You won't remember it later. You don't really store that information because it don't resonate with you. You don't agree with it. As soon as we agree, we believe it. And this is called faith. Now, on this part, as soon as we agree, we believe it, right? And of course, if we believe it, those are the things that are going to happen. Those are the things that are going to be manifested simply because we believe it. And if we believe it, we have faith in that. To have faith is to believe unconditionally. That's how we learn as children. Children believe everything adults say. Now, if you're a child and you already had like questions that you were asking within yourself, then some children don't believe everything adults say because they're already awakened to some things. And so they do begin to question, but they keep quiet about it because the adults are quick to shut them down. Children believe everything adults say. We agree with them, and our faith is so strong that the belief system controls the whole dream of life. Can you imagine being a child and you being told certain things over and over again? When you become to an age of accountability for yourself and you come across some information that kind of resonates with you and you begin to question, it can be hard to break away from what you've been told from the time you was an infant, from the time you was a toddler. It's hard to break that belief system, and it mentions that later on. We didn't choose these beliefs, and we may have rebelled against them, but we're not strong enough to win the rebellion. So when you're a child, you can't say how you feel outwardly. A lot of kids are not able to freely express or freely ask questions. Parents be quick to say, "Don't ask me no questions. Just do what I say." They're real quick to say that. A lot of people say, "Don't question God." You're supposed to ask questions. That's how you seek the truth. You ask questions, but you got to ask the right questions. So the result is surrender to the beliefs with our agreement. So we just agree. We can't rebel, especially as children. We can't rebel and tell mama she wrong, or tell daddy he wrong, or grandmother he wrong, or our teachers or the minister that they wrong. We can't tell them that. We can't rebel against that, because what? We're going to get a butt whooping. Something going to happen to us. We're going to be punished for asking questions or rebelling against something that we don't necessarily agree with. Now, he says, I call this process the domestication of humans. And through this domestication, we learn how to live and how to dream. In human domestication, the information from the outside dream is conveyed to the inside dream, creating our whole belief system. First, the child is taught the names of things: mom, dad, milk bottle. Day by day, at home, at school, at church, from television, we are told how to live, what kind of behavior is acceptable. The outside dream teaches us how to be a human. We have a whole concept of what a woman is and what a man is. And we also learn to judge. We judge ourselves, we judge other people, we judge the neighbors. Children are domesticated the same way that we domesticate a dog, a cat, or any other animal. If you really think about it, yeah, it's exactly what that is. In order to teach a dog, we punish the dog and we give it rewards. We train our children whom we love so much the same way that we train any domesticated animal, with the system of punishment and reward. We are told you're a good boy or you're a good girl when we do what mom and dad wants us to do. When we don't, we are a bad girl or a bad boy. When we went against the rules, we were punished. When we went along with the rules, we got a reward. We were punished many times a day, and we were also rewarded many times a day. Soon we became afraid of being punished and also afraid of not receiving the reward. The reward is the attention that we got from our parents, from other people like siblings, teachers, and friends. We soon develop a need to hook others' attention in order to get a reward. So imagine, a lot of people do a lot of things in order to get, number one, the attention or the reward. And sometimes attention is the reward. The reward feels good, and we keep doing what others want us to do in order to get the reward. With that fear of being punished and that fear of not getting the reward, we start pretending to be what we are not. That is like a big thing in humanity in general. In order to get the reward or to receive the attention, in order to get that, we start to be things that we are not just to please others. And really, that can weigh down on you. You can become depressed from just doing that because you're not able to be who you truly are at your core. So, yeah, it says we start pretending to be what we are not just to please others, just to be good enough for someone else. That can get tiring. Hey, my eyes look sleepy. I'm not even sleepy. But yeah, we try to please mom and dad. We try to please the teachers at school. We try to please the church. And so we start acting. Everybody acting. There's a lot of people acting. There's a lot of people with masks on. We pretend to be what we are not because we are afraid of being rejected. We're afraid of being who we truly are. Afraid that people won't accept us as we are, or that we may get criticized or persecuted for being who we are. The fear of being rejected becomes the fear of not being good enough. Eventually, we become someone we are not. We become a copy of mama's beliefs, daddy's beliefs, society's beliefs, and religion's beliefs. All of our normal tendencies are lost in the process of domestication. And when we are old enough for our mind to understand, we learn the word no. The adults say don't do this and don't do that. We rebel and say no. We rebel because we are defending our freedom. We want to be ourselves, but we are very little, and the adults are big and strong. After a certain time, we are afraid because we know that every time we do something wrong, we are going to be punished. The domestication is so strong that at a certain point in our lives, we no longer need anyone to domesticate us. Programmed. It's just like if, that saying where they chain up a lion. Let's use a lion, for example. Chain it up from the time it's a child and up, right? And when it becomes adult, they take the chain off, and then they just let the lion, roam that little area that they've been in. The lion doesn't realize the chain is off. It's been domesticated and it's been programmed. Well, I know I only can go this far. I know I only can go this far. Or even a caged animal. It's the same thing. They're programmed to think and perceive a certain way. And so they don't go outside of that, especially when it happens from the time they're infant up. Same thing with adults. which is why it's so hard for people to break their belief systems that they've had since they were a child, because they've been programmed. And Bob Proctor talks about the terror barrier. So when you try to start changing your belief systems, you come to this point where it's called the terror barrier, and usually most people, they regress and they go back to their old belief system because of that terror barrier. It's like anxiety, and it's something telling you, no, that's not right, and that programming is really fighting to remain, right? So the domestication is so strong that at a certain point in our lives, we no longer need anyone to domesticate us. We don't need mom or dad, the school, or the church to domesticate us. We are so well trained that we are our own domesticator. We are an auto-domesticated animal, in a sense. We can now domesticate ourselves according to the same belief systems we were given, and using the same system of punishment and reward. We punish ourselves when we don't follow the rules according to our belief system. We reward us, we reward ourselves when we are the good boy or the good girl. The belief system is like a book of law that rules our mind. Without question, whatever is in the book of law is our truth. We base all of our judgments according to the book of law, even if these judgments go against our own inner nature. So that means if you naturally do something, but it goes against your book of law, you would deny who you truly are at your core to follow that book of law. A lot of people do that. Let me use this for an example. I'm just reference the Bible for a minute, right? So in the Bible, Yeshua, he was on his way to the temple for the Sabbath, and there was a man, and the man needed healing. And Yeshua, being who he is, the son of the Most High, him being a nurturer, a healer, one who saves, right? One who sets free. Him having the heart that he had, who he was to his core, seeing that the man need healing, and he had compassion upon him. Now, granted, it was the Sabbath, and the book of the law in them days said you wasn't supposed to work on the Sabbath. But Yeshua had compassion upon the man, and he healed him, right? The Pharisees and the Sadducees, they wanted to condemn him because they're like, you're not supposed to work. The law says no man is to work on the Sabbath. Number one, Yeshua probably didn't even consider that to be work. He was helping somebody out that needed it. But the belief system of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the book of the law said, you're not supposed to work on the Sabbath. So, like this says, we base our judgments according to the book of law, even if these judgments go against our own inner nature. Yeshua's inner nature was to heal that man. He didn't allow the book of the law or the belief systems of society, of the Sadducees, the Pharisees, or even the people that followed them. He didn't allow that to stop him from doing what his inner nature was drawing him to do. A lot of times we go against our own inner nature to follow this book of the law, or to be right in the eyes of society. Let me say that. And that is sin when you go against your own inner nature, right? And it'll speak about that. We'll talk about that on another part. But yeah, sin is going against your own inner nature, going against yourself. So back to this book. Even more laws, like the Ten Commandments, are programmed into our mind in the process of domestication. One by one, all these agreements go into the book of law, and these agreements rule our dream. They rule our life. They rule how we move, how we think. There is something in our minds that judges everybody and everything, including the weather, the dog, the cat, everything. The inner judge uses what is in our book of law to judge everything we do and don't do, everything we think and don't think, and everything we feel and don't feel. Everything lives under the tyranny. Everything lives under the tyranny of this judge. Every time we do something that goes against the book of law, the judge says we are guilty. We need to be punished. We should be ashamed. You know what? This book of law, not this book, but the book of law and the belief systems and the things that we're programmed to believe causes us to condemn ourselves continuously because we feel like we have to be punished because we feel like we did something wrong. Especially if we go against our if we decide to go with our inner nature versus what we've been taught. We get persecuted for, or we get condemned, and sometimes we condemn ourselves because there's still that programming telling us you shouldn't have did that, or you shouldn't have said that, or you shouldn't feel like that. You know what I'm saying? Every time we do something that goes against the book of law, the judge says, y'all, I live by the Air Force Base, so if you hear the jet flying by, that's the noise that you hear. The judge says we are guilty, we need to be punished, we should be ashamed. This happens many times a day, day after day, for all the years of our lives. You know what that is, right? That's a form of hell. That's a form of hell, to feel guilty, to be punishing yourself, to feel ashamed. And you do this throughout the day, every day of your life, for years and years. That's a form of hell. It's a form of bondage. There is another part of us that receives the judgments, and this part of us is called the victim. The victim carries the blame, the guilt, and the shame. It is the part of us that says, poor me, I'm not good enough, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not worthy of love, poor me. The big judge agrees and says, yes, you are not good enough. And this is all based on a belief system we never chose to believe. These beliefs are so strong that even years later, when we are exposed to new concepts and try to make our own decisions, we find that these beliefs still control our lives. I mean, it's a constant process to try and break some of those beliefs. It really is a form of bondage. Whatever goes against the book of law will make you feel a funny sensation in your solar plexus. And your solar plexus is your third chakra, which is like right above your navel, but right under your diaphragm. And it's called fear. Breaking the rules in the book of law opens your emotional wounds, and your reaction is to create emotional poison. Because everything that is in the book of law has to be true. Anything that challenges what you believe is going to make you feel unsafe. Even if the book of law is wrong, it makes you feel unsafe. Meaning, even things that we are taught, we could come to the realization that they are wrong, but to go against it, we feel unsafe. we feel like we're doing something wrong. That's why we need a great deal of courage to challenge our own beliefs. Because even if we know we didn't choose all these beliefs, it's also true that we agreed to all of them. The agreement is so strong that even if we understand the concept of it not being true, we feel the blame, the guilt, and the shame that occur with going against these rules. So, especially uh, in different cultures. When you're growing up, you taught a certain way in different cultures, and some grow up and they realize, this way doesn't agree with me. It doesn't sit right with me. I feel out of place. And so they choose not to go with the culture that they was taught, and a lot of times they get disowned by their families. Even with religion, we grow up with a certain belief system and we come to the realization that all of it is not completely true or it doesn't resonate with us. And so we go on a search to find what does. And when we do find what does, people will say, oh, you're wrong, and you get condemned and you get persecuted and so on and so forth. You know, everything is not going to resonate with everybody. Thus, that's why there's groups and classes uh, and circles. I was not one that liked it to be, I didn't like cliques or groups. And, I never understood why they had classes, tax brackets or whatever. But I'm really starting to understand how those things are necessary. Um, so, no, everything won't resonate with everybody. And though we are a lot the same, we are also different. Um, and even when we are teaching, there's many teachers, but their deliverances are different. And every student won't be able to resonate with every teacher and how they teach and deliver the material. But there's ones that will. And I think that's the good thing about the body, the collective as a whole, because there's always somebody in the collective that can reach a person that someone else otherwise may not be able to. Even Yeshua, his teachings wasn't for everybody. Those that had a ear to hear would hear. His teachings wasn't for everybody. And us, even as us being individuals, whether teaching or not, whatever it is you do, what you have, what you do, what you say is not going to be for everybody, but it'll be for the people that resonate with you. It'll be for those that are to be connected or drawn to you. Just like Yeshua said, only those that my Father draws to me will come to me. So really, there is no need for people to be in competition. I see a lot of competition in the world of religion, spirituality, on YouTube, people in their businesses, just in general. And there's really no need for competition because those that are to come to you will be drawn to you. Point blank, period. Those that's supposed to go over there, they'll be drawn over there. They don't have anything to do with you. That's not to say you wrong or anything like that. It's just those that are meant to come to you to hear what you have to share or what you have to offer will be drawn to you. We're not going to be for everybody. So we don't need to try and seek the attention of everybody because we're not to be for everybody. Okay. Just as the government has a book of laws that rule the society's dream, our belief system is the book of laws that rules our personal dream. All these laws exist in our mind. We believe them, and the judge inside us bases everything on these rules. The judge decrees and the victim suffers the guilt and punishment. But who says there is justice in this dream? True justice is paying only once for each mistake. True injustice is paying more than once for each mistake. You know how we replay something we did over and over again in our mind and we keep beating ourselves up about it. We can't even move forward and do anything else because we stuck on that one thing that we did, that one bad decision we made. Again, that's a form of hell because you're stuck in bondage. You're stuck like in a prison within yourself because you keep replaying that same mistake you made over and over again and saying, well, I should have did this, and if I would have did this, then this. You already punished yourself for it once you realize that was the wrong thing to do. Why would you keep going over and over again with yourself about it? Right? How many times do we pay for one mistake? And it don't just be us. We punish ourselves, but we also get that punishment from people. People sometimes don't like to let things go. You know, they'll keep bringing it up, what you did or how you used to be or whatever. The answer is thousands of times. The human is the only animal on earth, or I'm going to say the only creation on earth that pays 1,000 times for the same mistake. The rest of the creation pay once for every mistake they make. But not us. We have a powerful memory. We make a mistake, we judge ourselves, we find ourselves guilty, and we punish ourselves. If justice exists, then we was enough. If justice exists, then that was enough. We don't need to do it again. But every time we remember, we judge ourselves again, we are guilty again, and we punish ourselves again and again and again. If we have a wife or a husband, he or she also reminds us of the mistake, so we can judge ourselves again, punish ourselves again, and find ourselves guilty again. Now, is that fair? How many times do we make our spouse, our children, or our parents pay for the same mistake? Every time we remember the mistake, we blame them again and send them all the emotional poison we feel at the injustice, and then we make them pay again for the same mistake. Is that justice? The judge in the mind is wrong because the belief system, the book of law, is wrong. The whole dream is based on false law. 95% of the beliefs we have stored in our minds are nothing but lies. We suffer because we believe in all of these lies. In the dream of the planet, it is normal for humans to suffer, to live in fear, and to create emotional dramas. Notice they said in the dream of the planet, so society's dream. The outside dream is not a pleasant dream. It is a dream of violence, a dream of fear, a dream of war, a dream of injustice. The personal dream of all humans will vary, but globally, it is mostly a nightmare. If we look at human society, we see a place so difficult to live in because it's ruled by fear. Throughout the world, we see human suffering, anger, revenge, addictions, violence in the street, and tremendous injustice. It may exist at different levels in different countries around the world, but fear is controlling the outside dream. Fear controls a lot of us. If we compare the dream of human society with the description of hell that religions all around the world have promulgated, we find they are exactly the same. Religions say that hell is a place of punishment, a place of fear, pain, and suffering, a place where the fire burns you. Fire is generated by emotions that come from fear. Whenever we feel the emotions of anger, jealousy, envy, or hate, we experience a fire burning within us. We are living in a dream of hell. If you consider hell as a state of mind, then hell is all around us. And it literally is. Hell is all around us. And I think that's really what Yeshua was trying to show us. And he was trying to show us and give us the tools of how to access heaven in the midst of hell. Because he said that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. But the people didn't know how to access the kingdom of heaven. So he was here to teach them, those that were ready, those that were drawn to him. He was here to teach them, to give them the tools that they needed. Now, he gave them the tools, but it was up to them to do the work. That's where that take your cross and follow me. You had to take up your own cross. You had to do the own work. You had to do your own work. We are in hell, but there are people here who have access to heaven, so they can be at peace when it's chaos all around them, because they took those tools. Whichever tools they decided to utilize, they have learned how to access heaven, right? So, anywho, that's going to be another video, because we're going to talk about, why did Yeshua really die? Why did they really kill him? Which they didn't kill him, but why did they crucify his flesh? We're going to talk about that one of these days. Okay, so others may warn us that if we don't do what they say we should do, we will go to hell. Bad news. We are already in hell, including the people who told us that. No human can condemn another human to hell because we are already there. Others can put us into a deeper hell, true, but only if we allow this to happen. That's only if you agree to what they're saying to you. Every human has his or her own personal dream, just like the society dream. It is often ruled by fear. We learn to dream hell in our own life, in our personal dream. The same fears manifest in different ways for each person, of course, but we experience anger, jealousy, hate, envy, and other negative emotions. Our personal dream can also become an ongoing nightmare where we suffer and live in a state of fear. But we don't need to dream a nightmare. It is possible to enjoy a pleasant dream. All of humanity is searching for truth, justice, and beauty. We are on an eternal search for the truth because we only believe in the lies we have stored in our mind. We are searching for justice because in the belief system we have, there is no justice. We search for beauty because it doesn't matter how beautiful a person is. We don't believe that person has beauty. We keep searching and searching, then everything is already within us. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. We keep searching and searching when everything is already in us, right? Even the Bible says God has given us all that we need within us to live this life. There is no truth to find. Wherever we turn our heads, all we see is the truth. But with the agreements and beliefs we have stored in our mind, we have no eyes for the truth. So the truth could be right there in our face, but we can't see it or acknowledge it because what we've been taught or programmed to believe won't allow us to. We don't see the truth because we are blind. What blinds us are those false beliefs we have in our mind. We need to be right and to make others wrong. Everybody want to prove that they right and everyone else is wrong. And everybody want to be right and say that their way is, the way is the only way. And, I ain't going to get off into that. We trust what we believe, and our beliefs set us up for suffering. It is as if we live in the middle of a fog that doesn't let us see any further than our own nose. We live in a fog that is not even real. This fog is a dream, your personal dream of life, what you believe, all the concepts you have about what you are, all the agreements you have made with others, with yourself, and even with God. Your whole mind is a fog which the Toltecs called a matote. Your mind is a dream where 1,000 people talk at the same time and nobody understands each other. This is the condition of the human mind, a big mitote, And with that big mitote, you cannot see what you really are. In India, they call the mitote Maya, which means illusions. It is the personality's notion of I am. Everything you believe about yourself and the world, all the concepts and programming you have in your mind are all the matote. We cannot see who we truly are. We cannot see that we are not free. And I just stop right there. We cannot see that we are not free because of all the programming that's taking place. Excuse me. From the time we were children. And again, that's why it's hard for a lot of people to accept anything outside of what they've been taught from a child growing up. It don't feel right. And every time you try and go against it, you're going to come face to face with that terror barrier or that fear. And you eventually regress back to what you were programmed to talk because you feel like you're doing something wrong. Let me know what y'all think about this. The next part is going to be about the first agreement. Right? I really kind of want to finish this, but I don't want to. It's already been close to 50 minutes. Oh, there is a part that I do want to share. This says to be alive is the biggest fear humans have. Death is not the biggest fear we have. Our biggest fear is taking the risk to be alive. The risk to be alive and express what we really are. That is being alive. A lot of us are just existing. We are not even able to freely express who we are out of fear of rejection. Out of fear, of what others may think. This says just being ourselves is the biggest fear of humans. Again, we all wear a mask. We all pretend and act. And we all have at some point. Some people don't do it no more because they found that the way they were taught, their belief system didn't work for them. They found freedom in being who they are. They discovered their core. Right? We have learned to live our lives trying to satisfy other people's demands. People pleasing is so unbecoming. People pleasing just puts you in a bad place because you're always out to please people, and then you really go against your own better judgment at times and go against yourself, and you start to feel down and depressed. We have learned to live by other people's points of view because of the fear of not being accepted and of not being good enough for someone else. You know, everybody has their own perception of what perfection should be. And if our perception of perfection is based off other people's opinions and the belief system we've been taught, if we don't align with that, then we reject ourselves and pretend to be something else so that we can fit into that illusion of what perfection is. And the level of self-rejection depends upon how effective the adults were in breaking our integrity. A lot of times it's hard for us to forgive ourselves for not being that perfect person or that perfect shape or that perfect this or whatever society deems to be perfect. So think about your belief system and how it affects your life. How does it rule your life? In which areas do you see it controlling you the most? And also think about what areas you find yourself feeling down. You know, see how it correlates, how your belief systems and how your emotions and how you feel. Spiritually, how does it work across the board? If you like the content, please hit the like button, subscribe, share it with a friend. This is just part one. We'll be coming back for part two, which will be the first agreement. And the first agreement is your word. Be impeccable with your word. So stay tuned for that. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I really like this book. You should pick it up. Again, I got it from Five and Below. It's just $5. Back there on the table with all the books. I'm pretty sure they got it at all of them. I went to at least 2 different ones and seen the same book. Again, like, subscribe, share if you like the content. Let me know. I'm going to leave the comments on. If you have a comment, feel free. Be nice about it. And if you choose not to be nice about it, you know, oh well. I may block it and I may not. But I'm not going to expect anything bad. I will take some questions and answer them to the best of my ability. But until then, I'll talk to y'all later because there's something else that I need to do today. I was supposed to do it yesterday. I need to talk about the story of Peter and Yeshua. Yeah. I want to know, do you have some Peters in your life? I'll talk to y'all later. I hope y'all enjoy it. Bye-bye.